Black Phone 2 is directed by Scott Derrickson as well as co-written by him and C. Robert Cargill, and is the sequel to the 2021, 2022. I mean, it came out in like premiered in 21, 22, the first movie that was then. I talked about that first movie, in fact, when it released back in theaters, and the review for that is on my channel. This continues the story of where things left off in the first movie, where Finn, played once again by Mason Thames, is still trying to move on after the events that took place back then when it came to him being kidnapped by the Grabber, played by Ethan Hawke. It's at this point of time that his sister Gwen, played by Madeline McGraw, is starting to have even more vivid and visceral dreams. And these dreams lead Finn and Gwen to a place called Alpine Lake, where it seems like a few incidents have taken place in the past and they're directly connected with the Grabber, and they need to figure out what this is before things become even more dangerous. I enjoyed the first Black Phone. I thought it was a very fun movie, and there was something very unsettling and creepy about how the Grabber was presented, and I thought Ethan Hawke was terrifying in that role. I thought Mason Thames did a great job over there as well, as did Madeline McGraw. And I thought Derrickson did a really good job of directing it. And I thought it was a very entertaining movie overall as well. And I thought, like most people, that the story was done. So imagine my surprise when they announced the sequel, and I thought, well, you know what? Let's check it out. Let's see what this one has to offer. And I really dug what they did with Black Phone 2. This one does a lot more when it comes to the supernatural aspect of things rather than the more grounded aspect of the first one. Granted, the first one also went into supernatural territory with the phone itself and what Gwen was seeing, but this one decides to do even more so when it comes to how it showcases those events and how much those play into the narrative of the movie. And there's almost a Nightmare on Elm Street like quality to a lot of it, and how the Grabber is, showcased a lot in the movie. Without getting into too many spoilers, there is this very Freddy Krueger like aspect to him, which, like you can kind of see him in your dreams, and whatever he can do over there could potentially affect what's happening in reality. And it leads to, again, a very unsettling experience, but I actually think Ethan Hawke is even more terrifying in this movie. He is completely unhinged over here, obviously, after what happened in the first movie, and there is this revenge-like aspect when it comes to him coming after the brother and sister once again. And it leads to some really, really creepy moments, and I thought he did a phenomenal job once again. All the performances were great. I mean, Mason Thames is once again really great as Finn. I thought he added so much to, all the proceedings of the movie, and I thought he did a wonderful job. But Madeline McGraw as Gwen, I would say, was maybe my favorite performance of the movie. There's so much that's resting on her shoulders when it comes to how everything goes down and how all of these events are proceeding and the dreams that she's seeing in her mind. And so in the middle of the night, when she is going through those dreams, shot marvelously with Super 8 cameras, those moments are really, really well executed, and she does an incredible job in those moments. And she really does showcase, her acting talent in those, and I can't wait to see what she does next. There's a really, really promising career for her for many, many years to come going forward. And I think, once again, just like the first movie, I think Derrickson directs it really well. Aside from the fact that it has that more unsettling feeling to it, it also is just very unsettling in general, because you see a lot of really awful things happen in the movie, and it's much more violent. And the way that those sequences are executed, because, it particularly comes to children being killed in a specific space, and the way you see some of the killings that are taking place in these dreams and what seems to have happened before, it's an incredibly visceral sequence of events that plays out, and I thought he did a really great job of making those come to life on screen. I mean, the entire movie is beautiful to look at, but I really keep going to those dream sequences in particular because it's such a major chunk of the movie, and they're pulled off really well. The score from Atticus Derrickson, I thought, was really well done as well. So very loud at points, but also really had an impact that it left, really gets under your skin. And when it comes to the story, I also really like how it expands on a lot of things from the first movie. Of course, you expect that, with all the stuff that I've told you so far, but also when it comes to the Grabber himself and some of the lore surrounding him and how he sort of ended up in, becoming who he is. There are aspects of that that the movie does go into as well, which I thought were really interesting and, really added a lot more to exactly who he was. I also think the movie succeeds quite a bit when it comes to the emotional aspects of it, particularly when it comes to dealing with everything that's happened. There is a significant amount of loss and tragedy when it comes to the brother and sister, but also the family in general. They've all been through a lot recently, and seeing them trying to navigate that, and there's a lot of moments where there's talks about wanting to get some kind of an emotional catharsis, something more, that will help move on and just to, try and be a better person. I think the way that they went about some of that was also really affecting. There's a few moments that do sort of get you without going too much into them. Like there's a couple of conversations that really did have an impact. As for issues, there does have a few first act woes where it does take a while to really kick off the ground and get going. There's some moments with the dialogue every now and then that weren't as strong as others, and as much as there were those emotionally really powerful moments every now and then, there were also some moments early on with some of the humor and exchanges between characters where I thought not as strong over here. It does sometimes get a little wobbly when it comes to some tonal shifts here and there. There's a few moments with humor that, while admittedly a lot of those did land, there's a couple of times I was like, well, we're really in the tension right now. I feel like we should keep it to that kind of a tense vibe that the scene already was basing itself off of. Despite all of that, I really enjoyed Black Phone 2. I was surprised by how much I enjoyed it. I actually don't know if this is going to work for everybody because, like I already mentioned, it is a departure from the first movie in a lot of ways. It decides to do things differently in that, like how the first movie did it, that's not what happens over here. For my money's worth, I thought it was a pretty fun time and I do recommend checking it out. And while I think that, I don't know if they're gonna make a third Black Phone movie. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I did enjoy these two movies so far, and I'm gonna give the second one an 8 out of 10. Guys, thank you very much as always for watching. Look forward to more videos very soon. As always, if you like this, please do subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the movies.